I still remember the first morning I walked into the glass building on Madison Avenue, holding my resume like it was the last proof that I existed. New York felt louder that day, sharper, as if the city itself was testing whether I belonged here or not. The lobby smelled of polished marble and expensive cologne, and every step I took echoed my nervousness. That was the day I met Ethan Carter. I didn't know his name then. To me, he was just my boss, the man everyone straightened up for, the man whose footsteps could silence an entire floor. "Miss, you're blocking the elevator." His voice was calm, deep, and dangerously composed. I turned so fast I almost dropped my folder. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, eyes sharp like he could read mistakes before they happened. There was no smile on his face, but there was no cruelty either, just authority. I'm sorry," I said quickly, stepping aside. He nodded once and walked past me, leaving behind a strange stillness. My heart was racing, and I hated myself for it. "Get it together, Ava," I told myself. "He's just your boss." I didn't know then how wrong I was. The interview went smoothly, at least on the surface. Human Resources smiled, nodded, and told me I'd hear back soon. I was already halfway out of the building when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Come to the 32nd floor. Now." I froze. 32nd floor was executive level. When I stepped out of the elevator, the silence was intimidating. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city stretched out like a living map. At the far end stood Ethan Carter, hands in his pockets, staring out at New York like he owned it. "You're Ava Reynolds," he said without turning around. "Yes." "You're late." I blinked. "For what?" "For your real interview." He finally turned to face me, and for the first time, I noticed the exhaustion hidden behind his controlled expression. "Sit," he said, pointing to a chair across from his desk. I sat. "You have no corporate background, no elite references, and yet," he paused, flipping through my resume, "you solved a logistics problem in your internship that saved a company $500,000. I swallowed. "I just noticed inefficiencies." A faint smirk appeared. "You noticed what experienced managers didn't." Silence filled the room. "I need someone like that," he said finally. "You start tomorrow, personal assistant." My breath caught. "Tomorrow?" He nodded. "Welcome aboard." Just like that, my life changed. Working for Ethan Carter was like walking a tightrope every day. He was demanding, precise, and allergic to excuses. Meetings started on time, reports had to be flawless, mistakes were corrected with a single raised eyebrow that somehow hurt more than shouting ever could. But he was also fair. When I worked late, he stayed late. When projects succeeded, he made sure credit was given, even to someone as invisible as me. Still, there was a distance, a wall, and I told myself I was grateful for that. One night, around 11 p.m., the office was nearly empty. Rain streaked down the windows, blurring the city lights. "Coffee?" I asked, holding up 2 cups. He looked up from his laptop, surprised. "You're still here." "So are you." He hesitated, then nodded. "Thanks." I handed him the cup, our fingers brushing for half a second. Electricity shot through me, unexpected and unsettling. "Why do you work like this?" I asked before I could stop myself. He leaned back slightly. "Because if I stop, everything catches up." "Everything?" His jaw tightened. "That's not a conversation for employees." I nodded, embarrassed. "Sorry." But then he sighed. "I built this company after my father died. Failure isn't an option." Something shifted in his tone. Vulnerability, just for a moment. "I'm sorry," I said softly. He met my eyes, really looked at me, and for the first time, the wall cracked. "Go home, Ava," he said quietly. "You've done enough today." I left, but my thoughts stayed behind. Over the weeks, small moments accumulated. Shared elevators, late-night strategy sessions, silent understanding over coffee cups. And then came the night when everything crossed a line. We were in Chicago for a conference. The hotel bar was quiet, jazz humming softly in the background. "You don't have to sit with me," he said. "I want to." He studied me for a long second. "That's dangerous." "For who?" "For both of us." I should have walked away. Instead, I stayed. When his hand brushed mine again, this time he didn't pull back. The world narrowed to that moment, that touch. "I can't," he whispered, more to himself than to me. "Then don't," I replied. His eyes darkened. That was the night I realized the most dangerous thing wasn't falling in love with my boss. It was that he was already falling too. The next morning in Chicago felt heavier than the night before. I woke up before my alarm, staring at the hotel ceiling, replaying every second of that moment at the bar. Nothing technically happened, yet everything had changed. The awareness between us had crossed from unspoken tension into something dangerously real. At breakfast, Ethan was already seated, scrolling through his tablet like nothing was wrong. "Good morning," I said carefully. "Morning," he replied, tone neutral, professional. Relief and disappointment hit me at the same time. We spent the day surrounded by executives, presentations, and polite smiles. To everyone else, we were just boss and assistant. But every time he handed me a document, every time our shoulders brushed in a crowded hallway, my heart reacted like it was betraying me. That night, alone in my room, I finally admitted the truth to myself. I was falling in love with my boss. And worse, I knew he felt something too. Back in New York, Ethan became stricter. No late-night conversations, no personal questions, no shared coffee breaks. He was building the wall higher than ever. "You don't have to stay late," he said one evening without looking at me. "I'm finishing the quarterly report." "Send it tomorrow." "I'd rather finish now." He finally looked up. His eyes were tired. "Ava, go home." There was something final in his voice. I nodded, collected my things, and walked out with my dignity intact, but my heart aching. That night, I cried for the first time since starting the job. Weeks passed. The distance between us grew, but the tension didn't fade. If anything, it sharpened. Then came the email. Subject: emergency board meeting tonight. By 9 p.m., the boardroom was filled with tension. The company was facing a hostile acquisition attempt. Lawyers argued, investors panicked. Ethan stood at the head of the table, calm but intense. "We don't sell," he said firmly. "We fight." One of the board members scoffed. "And risk losing everything?" His jaw tightened. I didn't build this company to hand it over because someone got scared. The room went silent. After hours of debate, the board finally agreed to his plan. By midnight, everyone was gone except us. "You saved the company," I said quietly as I packed up files. He leaned against the table, exhaustion finally breaking through. "I couldn't have done it without you." That simple sentence meant more to me than any promotion ever could. "Why are you pushing me away?" I asked suddenly. The words escaped before fear could stop them. He straightened instantly. "I'm not." "You are, and you know it." Silence. Then he exhaled slowly. "Wanting you is the most irresponsible thing I've ever done." My heart skipped. "Wanting me?" He looked at me, eyes raw. "You're my employee. I'm your boss. One mistake and everything we've worked for collapses." "So you just ignore it?" I asked. "I try." "And is it working?" He didn't answer. That was answer enough. The breaking point came on a rainy Friday. I was leaving the office when I heard raised voices from Ethan's office. "You can't keep doing this," a woman snapped. I froze. The door was slightly open. "I told you, it's over," Ethan said coldly. "You don't just walk away after 3 years," she replied bitterly. My chest tightened. 3 years? I stepped back quietly, heart pounding. Later that night, curiosity won over self-control. "Who was that?" I asked him in the elevator. His expression hardened. "That's not your concern." "Was she your—" "Don't," he cut in sharply. The elevator stopped. Doors opened. He stepped out, then paused. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "That was unfair." "So, who is she?" I asked again, softer. "My past. And a mistake." I nodded, though jealousy burned inside me. Days later, the company hosted a formal charity gala. Black dresses, tuxedos, crystal chandeliers. When Ethan saw me, his breath visibly caught. "You look incredible," he said before he could stop himself. "So do you," I replied. We stood too close. The music was slow, the lights dim. "Dance with me," he said suddenly. "We shouldn't." "I know." Still, he held out his hand. I took it. As we moved across the floor, the world faded. "This is wrong," he whispered. "Then why does it feel right?" I asked. His hand tightened at my waist. For a moment, I thought he might kiss me right there, in front of everyone. Instead, he pulled away abruptly. "I can't do this," his voice strained. I watched him walk away, heartbreaking in silence. The following Monday, HR called me in. "We're restructuring executive support," the woman said politely. "You'll be reassigned to another department." I felt dizzy. Reassigned? Yes, effective immediately. When I left the room, Ethan was standing in the hallway. "You did this," I said quietly. "Yes," he replied. "Why?" "Because this is the only way I don't destroy your future." His eyes dark with emotion. "And what about us?" I asked. "There is no us," he said, even though it clearly hurt him to say it. I nodded slowly. "Then you won't mind if I resign." His head snapped up. "What?" "I won't stay somewhere I'm treated like a liability." "You're not." "I quit," I said steadily, "effective today." I walked away before he could stop me. That night, he showed up at my apartment. Rain-soaked, hair messy, control gone. "This is a mistake," he said. So was pushing me away. "I'm in love with you," he finally said, "and I've been fighting it since Chicago." The words hit me like a storm. "I won't be your secret, and I won't be your regret." He stepped closer. "Then don't be." He kissed me then, slow, desperate, honest. And in that moment, I knew. Loving my boss was dangerous, but losing him would have been worse. After that night, nothing was simple. Ethan and I tried to keep it private, but working in the same office made secrecy impossible. Every glance, every touch, every shared laugh felt like it could explode into something everyone noticed. I told myself it was worth it. The risk, the tension, the danger of getting caught. He called me into his office one afternoon, the city skyline stretched behind him. "I don't want this to ruin you," he said, voice low. "I'm not afraid," I replied, though my hands trembled slightly. "You don't understand," he said. "People will judge. Rumors will start. Your career, mine, everything could be questioned." "I don't care about them," I whispered. "I care about you." Ethan's eyes softened. He stepped closer. "And I care about you, Ava, but I also care about keeping my company intact. Loving you, it's reckless." I swallowed. "Then maybe we'll just have to be reckless together." The next few weeks were a dangerous dance. We met in quiet corners, whispered over phone calls, exchanged secret texts during meetings. Every interaction was electrifying, a mix of fear and longing. Then came the first challenge. A journalist somehow got wind of the story. A small headline appeared on a popular gossip site. "Is Ethan Carter's personal assistant more than just an employee?" I froze. Ethan read it on his phone, jaw tight. "I should deny it," he said. "No," I said, meeting his eyes. Let it die on its own. People will forget if we don't feed it. He sighed. This is exactly what I was afraid of. At work, tension grew. Colleagues looked at me differently. Every email from Ethan felt heavier, loaded with hidden meaning. I had to constantly remind myself that I wasn't just his girlfriend. I was still his assistant, and professionalism had to come first. Late one night, he called me to his office. Sit, he said, gesturing. He closed the door behind me. I hate that this is happening, he said, pacing. I hate that people are judging you, that people will judge us. You're not alone. I'll face it with you. He stopped and stared at me. For a long moment, no words. Then he spoke barely audible. I don't deserve you. That phrase cut deeper than any argument. Stop saying that, I said. You've done more for me in a few months than anyone else ever has. He shook his head. I built walls, Ava. I'm not sure I even know how to love without destroying it. I'll teach you. Together. Things weren't smooth, though. The stress began to get to both of us. One night, after a heated board meeting, Ethan slammed his office door. I can't do this anymore. I froze. Do what? Everything, he yelled, raw. Juggling the company, the investors, the media, keeping us hidden. It's too much. I'm failing you. You're not failing me, I said, stepping closer. You're human. We'll figure this out, together. He turned, and for the first time, vulnerability cracked his perfect facade. He pulled me into his arms. I've never wanted anything this badly, he admitted, voice breaking. I know, I whispered, hugging him tightly. And that's enough. Weeks passed, and we began finding a rhythm. Small victories, private moments, quiet evenings where it was just us. Then came the real test. Ethan's ex, the one from Chicago, reappeared. She requested a meeting under the guise of business. I saw the email on his desk. My stomach dropped. You need to see her, he said. I'll handle it, but I can't ignore her. She'll ruin everything if we don't address it. The day of the meeting, my anxiety was a storm. I stayed near his office, pretending to organize files, listening to muffled voices. When she left, he called me in. She's gone, he said. But that was close. Too close. I nodded. You've survived it. He looked at me, dark eyes soft. Because you're here. Always. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Loving Ethan Carter wasn't just about passion. It was about trust, loyalty, sacrifice, and the courage to face every storm together. By now, the office knew something was happening, but no one could prove it. Ethan and I had perfected the art of subtlety. Brush of a hand, shared smirk, late-night work sessions that could mean anything. Yet the biggest battle wasn't outsiders, it was inside him. One evening, rain pouring out the window, he finally confessed. I'm scared, Ava. Scared I'll hurt you. Scared I'll lose everything. Scared I'm not enough. I took his hand. You're more than enough. You always have been. We just need to stop running from this. He held me tight. Then don't let me go. I won't, I whispered. That night, as thunder rolled across the city, I realized love with your boss was dangerous, chaotic, and unpredictable, but with him, it felt like home. The next morning, everything seemed normal, but the storm outside mirrored the chaos inside me. Ethan and I had learned to navigate our feelings carefully. Publicly, we were professional. Privately, we were reckless, stealing moments whenever we could. But deep down, we both knew that eventually our secret couldn't stay hidden forever. It began with a misunderstanding. One of Ethan's business rivals, a ruthless executive named Marcus Vale, somehow caught wind of a possible romantic entanglement. He didn't know details, he only knew that Ethan's assistant was unusually close to him. That night, I got an anonymous email. I know what you two are doing. Be careful. This could ruin you both. My stomach sank. I showed Ethan. He read it slowly, eyes narrowing. Marcus is dangerous. He won't stop until he finds a weakness. Do you think he'll leak this? I asked nervously. Possibly, he admitted, which is why we need to be more careful than ever. We spent the next weeks meticulously guarding our interactions. No private meetings, no personal texts during office hours, even lunches were now with colleagues present. Yet the tension only grew. Every touch, every glance felt loaded with forbidden energy. Then came the first confrontation. Marcus appeared in Ethan's office unannounced. He smirked at me from across the room. "I hear there's more to this assistant than meets the eye," he said casually. Ethan's jaw tightened. "That's enough, Marcus." "Oh, come on," Marcus said. "You're worried about your little secret. Isn't that right, Ava?" I felt my face flush, heart pounding. "Leave," Ethan said, voice cold and commanding. Marcus chuckled. "I would, but secrets like yours have a way of escaping. Just remember, I have eyes everywhere." He left, leaving a trail of unease. Ethan closed the door and ran a hand through his hair. "I warned you," he muttered. "I can't protect you from everything." "I don't need protecting," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I just don't want to lose you." He paused, studying me. "You won't, I promise." A few days later, the tension erupted in another way. We were working late in the office, alone for once. Ethan was reviewing financial reports and I was compiling data. "I can't do this anymore," he said suddenly, voice low. "I can't pretend everything's normal while this is happening." "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "I mean us, loving you, hiding it, constantly watching our backs. I don't want to live like that." I swallowed. "Then what do we do?" He looked at me, eyes fierce and vulnerable at the same time. "We fight for us against the world, against anyone who says we can't." I stepped closer. "And if we lose?" He shook his head, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "We don't lose. Not us." Our relationship deepened after that. Every stolen moment, every whispered conversation, every secret touch became a testament to our bond. But danger lurked everywhere. Marcus didn't give up. Rumors spread, anonymous calls, investigations into Ethan's personal life. Every day felt like a test of trust, resilience, and loyalty. One night, as we worked late, Ethan finally confessed. "I've been keeping a secret from you, too." I froze. "What?" He hesitated. "Before you, there was someone else. Someone I thought I loved, but I realized I never did. Not really. Not the way I feel for you." My chest tightened. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I was afraid," he admitted. "Afraid it would ruin us before we even had a chance." I stepped closer, touching his arm. "It's okay. We're here now. That's all that matters." He looked at me, gratitude and love shining in his eyes. "I don't deserve you." I said that already, I teased lightly, though my heart ached. "I meant it this time," he said, voice serious. "But I'll spend every day trying to deserve you anyway." Days turned into weeks. Marcus's attempts faded slightly as our bond grew stronger, yet the office environment remained tense. Every misstep could become a headline. Every whispered conversation could become a scandal. And through it all, we clung to each other. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because it was worth it. But then came the moment that changed everything. One evening, Ethan didn't return my messages. Not one. My anxiety grew unbearable. I tried calling him repeatedly. Finally, after hours, a text came. "Meet me at the rooftop, 10 p.m., alone." I arrived, heart racing. The city lights stretched out below us, cold and distant. Ethan stood at the edge, staring at the skyline, shoulders tense. "What is it?" I asked softly. He turned, face pale. "There's been an incident. Someone tried to sabotage the company tonight. It was close, too close." "Are you okay?" I asked, stepping closer. "I'm fine," he said, but his voice shook. "But they're not done. They'll come after everything, us included." I held his hand. "Then we fight, together." He looked at me, tears threatening to spill. "I don't want to lose you, Ava. Not like this." "You won't," I whispered. "I'm not leaving. Ever." And as the wind whipped around us, I realized something terrifying. Loving Ethan Carter was not just about passion or desire. It was about survival, trust, and the courage to face every storm together. The next morning, the city felt different, tenser, sharper, like it had been holding its breath overnight. I couldn't focus on anything. Every phone notification made me jump. Every knock at the office door felt like an alarm. Ethan was quiet, more distant than usual, though he tried to hide it. I could tell he was calculating, planning, already 3 steps ahead, as always. But tonight, the danger wasn't abstract. It was personal. That afternoon, an urgent call from the head of security changed everything. "Miss Reynolds," the voice said, steady but tense. "There's been an attempted break-in at the company. Surveillance footage shows masked intruders near the executive floor. No one is hurt, but it's clear they were after Mr. Carter." My heart stopped. I immediately thought of Ethan. I rushed to his office. He was already there, reviewing security reports, eyes narrowed. "They were professional," he said quietly. "They knew what they were looking for. Someone inside this building tipped them off." I stepped closer, heart racing. "Inside? Who?" "I don't know yet," he admitted. "But that's what scares me. Someone we trust, or think we do, might be betraying us." His hand brushed mine. For a moment, the world felt small, just the two of us against everything. That night, we decided to stay at the office until the threat was identified. We set up a temporary command center in his office. Security monitors flickered with feeds from every corner of the building. Hours passed. Tension built. Then a shadow appeared on one of the cameras, someone moving in the restricted area, wearing a hoodie. Ethan froze. That's impossible." I held my breath. He grabbed a pair of binoculars from his desk and zoomed in. It was Marcus Vale. "Why is he here?" I whispered. "He's been waiting for an opportunity like this. He wants to destroy me, my company, and me personally." I looked at him, fear and anger mingling. "We can't let him succeed." He nodded. "And we won't." The next few hours were a blur of strategy, phone calls, and careful maneuvers. Ethan's leadership shone brighter than ever, every decision precise, every move calculated. And yet, through it all, he kept a protective hand near mine, grounding me. Finally, the intruder tried to access the executive floor, but Ethan anticipated it. Security blocked the elevator and called the police. Marcus escaped, but the evidence of his involvement was undeniable. Breathing heavily, Ethan leaned against his desk. "That was too close." I touched his arm. "You're alive. That's what matters." He looked at me, his eyes softening. "I almost lost everything, including you." I swallowed hard. "You won't. I'm not going anywhere." The danger didn't disappear overnight. Marcus made several attempts to destabilize Ethan's company. Rumors, sabotage, even anonymous threats. But through it all, Ethan and I grew closer. We weren't just lovers. We were a team, a force. One evening, after a long day, he pulled me into his office. The city lights spilled across his desk. "You stayed," he said, voice husky. "Even when it was dangerous, even when it was terrifying." I replied, "I told you, I'm not leaving. Not ever." He studied me for a long moment. Then he smiled, a small, rare smile. "Then maybe we can stop hiding." I froze. "What do you mean?" He reached for my hand. "Let's go public. Not just as your boss and employee, but as us, together. No more secrets, no more walls." My heart raced. "Are you sure?" "Never more sure of anything in my life," he said. We've survived everything so far. Now it's time to live, not just survive. The decision wasn't easy. Board members were skeptical, lawyers worried about optics, and the media had a field day speculating. But Ethan handled it all with his usual poise. And when we appeared together at a company event, hand in hand, the world could finally see the truth. We were in love. There were still challenges ahead. Marcus wasn't done, and the pressures of the company never stopped. But with Ethan by my side, I felt stronger, braver, unstoppable even. That night, as we left the gala, the city lights reflected in his eyes. He turned to me, face soft, and whispered, "We did it. We finally did it." I smiled. "We did. Together." He pulled me close, and for the first time, there was no fear, no walls, no secrets, just us. And in that moment, I knew one thing for certain. Loving Ethan Carter had been dangerous, chaotic, and unpredictable, but nothing had ever felt so right. The days that followed were different, lighter. Somehow, announcing our relationship lifted a weight off both our shoulders. The office still buzzed with whispers, but for the first time, Ethan and I didn't have to hide. We walked through the halls hand in hand, exchanged subtle smiles during meetings, and sometimes, just sometimes, shared quiet moments in his office when no one was looking. But with the freedom came new challenges. One evening, as we were leaving the office, my phone rang. The caller ID was unknown. I hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" A cold, distorted voice replied, "You think going public makes you safe? Think again." My heart raced. I glanced at Ethan. He was already tense, eyes scanning the street. "Who is this?" I demanded. "You'll see soon," the voice said, and the line went dead. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Marcus," he muttered. "He's escalating." That night, we barely slept. Ethan checked security footage, changed office protocols, and even arranged for private security to escort us home. Every knock at the door, every shadow outside the window set my nerves on edge. The next week brought a business summit in Miami. It was high profile, glamorous, and dangerous, as Ethan had suspected. Marcus would be there. We arrived, keeping a low profile, but the tension was palpable. Every step felt like walking on a wire. During the gala dinner, I noticed him first. Marcus Vail, seated across the room, a smug smile on his face. His eyes locked onto Ethan's, then flicked toward me. Ethan leaned close. "Stay calm," he whispered. "Do not give him anything to use." I nodded, heart hammering. But inside, a fire burned. I refused to let Marcus intimidate us. Hours later, after speeches and applause, the confrontation came. Marcus approached us, drink in hand, charm forced but eyes sharp. "Ethan Carter, still trying to hide behind your little assistant?" I felt Ethan stiffen. I stepped slightly in front of him. "We're not hiding." Marcus smirked. "Is that so? How public are you willing to be, The world is watching, and everyone loves a scandal." Ethan's hand found mine under the table. He whispered low and steady, "Watch me." He stood, calm, commanding, and faced Marcus. "You've tried everything. Rumors, sabotage, threats, and yet here we are, together, stronger than ever, and no one's opinion can change that." Marcus faltered, clearly not expecting that strength. He narrowed his eyes, but backed off, at least for now. I exhaled, relief washing over me. "That was incredible," I whispered. Ethan smiled, just for me. "We're incredible. Together." After that night, things slowly began to stabilize. The company grew stronger. Marcus's attempts became less frequent, his threats weaker. Our love, tested by danger, rumors, and fear, emerged unbreakable. One evening, months later, Ethan invited me to the rooftop of the company building. The city stretched endlessly below, lights twinkling like stars. "I've been thinking," he said, turning to face me, "about everything we've been through." I smiled softly. "Me too." He took my hands. "I want the next step, Ava. No more hiding, no more fear. Just us." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "Marry me." Tears welled in my eyes. "Yes," I whispered, barely able to speak. "Yes, Ethan." He slipped the ring onto my finger, and we held each other tight. The city lights reflected in our eyes, but in that moment, nothing else mattered. We had survived danger, sabotage, judgment, and fear, and now we were free, together, in love, unstoppable. The months that followed were filled with hope, laughter, and planning for a future neither of us had dared to imagine before. The office, the city, the world, it all felt different. Safer, brighter, because we faced it side by side. And though our love had begun in secrecy and chaos, it had grown into something unbreakable, fierce, and true. Because some risks were worth taking, because some loves were worth fighting for, and because some bosses were meant to be so much more. The weeks after the rooftop proposal were surreal. Suddenly, we were no longer just boss and assistant. We were partners in every sense, professionally, personally, emotionally. Yet, the past was never far behind. Marcus Vale still lingered in the background, a reminder that not all battles were over. One morning, as Ethan and I were reviewing quarterly reports, his phone rang. It was an anonymous tip about Marcus trying one last attempt at sabotaging a merger deal. "We need to act fast," Ethan said, tone firm, eyes sharp. "This is his final move." I nodded, my pulse quickening. "Then let's stop him, for good." We spent the next 48 hours coordinating with our legal team, cybersecurity experts, and private security. Every detail had to be airtight, every potential vulnerability sealed. Finally, the day came. Marcus tried to manipulate a deal that would have cost Ethan millions, but thanks to our preparation, his attempt was exposed immediately. The evidence was undeniable. Contracts voided, authorities alerted, and Marcus's reputation shattered. Ethan exhaled, relief finally breaking through. "It's over," he said quietly, rubbing his temples. I smiled, leaning on his shoulder. "It really is." With Marcus finally neutralized, life began to normalize. Public opinion, which had once been a threat, now admired our transparency. The company thrived, and so did our relationship. One Friday evening, Ethan called me into his office. The city skyline stretched out behind him, golden in the setting sun. "I want to do something," he said, taking my hand. "Something permanent, not just marriage, but building a life together fully and openly." "I want that too," I replied, tears brimming. "More than anything." He smiled, pulling me close. "Then let's start our future now. No more fear, no more hiding, just us." We kissed, long and slow, the city buzzing quietly around us. In that moment, nothing mattered but each other. The chaos, the dangers, the past, they were all behind us. The months that followed were filled with joy, laughter, and small, beautiful moments. We planned our wedding, worked side by side in the company, and learned to balance love with responsibility. Ethan's hands, once reserved and calculating, became soft and protective. His eyes, once cold and sharp, now always held warmth and reassurance. And me? I had grown too, stronger, braver, unafraid to fight for what I loved. One night, as we celebrated a major company milestone, Ethan raised a glass to me. "To Ava," he said, voice steady and full of love, "for staying, for believing, and for loving me when I didn't even know how to love myself." I smiled, clinking our glasses against his. "To us," I said, "for surviving the storms and for building a life worth living together." He pulled me into his arms, whispering against my hair, "I love you, Ava.
Always. I love you too, Ethan. Always. And with that, I knew the journey wasn't over, but it didn't need to be perfect because we had each other. Against the world, against danger, against fear, we had built something unbreakable. Some loves are dangerous. Some loves are chaotic. Some loves test every limit you have. But the love between a boss and an assistant can become the strongest, fiercest, most unstoppable force of all. And ours was exactly that.